Hey everyone, it's Charlie Morgan here, and I just finished an interview with Jimmy Mitchell, who is an awesome friend of mine and a client that's been working with us for about 7 months. He joined Imperium 7 months ago, making $40,000 a month in his business, and these days, 7 months later, he makes $80,000 to $100,000, which is really exciting for him. He's basically doubled his revenue working with us, and I wanted to basically interview him to ask him about his experience with our program, just so he can explain why it's awesome and maybe why you should buy it as well, potentially. Listen, if you enjoyed today's video, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Basically, in terms of the comments, if you've got any video ideas or suggestions you want me to make, just pop them below. But if not, just enjoy the video, enjoy Jimmy's experience, and he's a very likable guy, so I'm sure you'll like him. And he has a YouTube channel, the link will be in the description. So I'll cut the clip in now, enjoy. All right, everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another client interview for the YouTube channel. Today, I'm interviewing the man, the myth, and most certainly the legend, Jimmy Mitchell. Jimmy has been working with us for, how long do you think it's been, mate? Like a year, maybe?
No, it'd have to be 6 months.
6 months,
Like
yeah.
a little bit less than 6 months. Probably, yeah. I think I signed up in 7 months ago. It was 7 months ago.
Okay, so I do lose track of time. So Jimmy's been with us for basically just over half a year. And today's interview stroke story is basically about how we helped Jimmy take his agency from around $40,000 to $45,000 per month to around $80,000 to $85,000 per month. Jimmy has said he's had some 100K months, but to keep it transparent and fair, we're going to average it out. For full transparency, this is in Australian dollars, as opposed to US dollars. So we've helped him double his revenue. Yeah, I mean, technically Jimmy is a 7-figure agency owner, but obviously Australian dollar, you can sort of do the math. But either way, it's a very impressive transformation, basically doubling the revenue over the last 6 months. And, we've had the pleasure of working with Jimmy. So yeah, we're just going to sort of run through. Now, the first thing that Jimmy and I are going to discuss today is the story of Jimmy actually coming on board as a client. Because it was probably about 12 or 18 months ago that I reached out to you, if I'm not mistaken. Why don't you just tell everyone like what your hesitations were and why you took a while to come on board?
Yep, it was actually, I think it was like July 2021. So it was probably 9 months to a year before I actually joined. And firstly, thank you for having me on. I
was going to say, I haven't actually asked you to introduce yourself.
No, that's all right.
Why don't you tell people a bit about who you are and what you do as well?
Oh, look, so I'm Jimmy. I have obviously an agency. I'm an online guy. We're a full service agency. And I've got 12 staff in the business here. A couple of the team in the Philippines as well. And really just sort of have a USP around working with businesses that work in the real world. I'm a pretty blue collar guy, and I found that was a pretty decent USP to have is take a lot of practical experience I've had in the past and combine it with my knowledge of the digital space. And then that's led to a lot of good outcomes for me and my family, obviously. To get back to what you were saying, so I'm super stoked to be on here and finally talk to you about my experience. I feel comfortable now after walking the walk for a while to be able to share my experiences. And I think, getting back to what we were talking. So it's funny, I have a very high standard when it comes to my expectations of others in marketing. And it's mainly because there's so many people that get ripped off. I feel like there's so few people that do it properly that they instantly stand out when they do things. And Charlie reaching out to me was actually how I was going about reaching out to people, just with a lot more manual labor involved in mine. I'd basically make a 20-minute video for every person I spoke to, which was not efficient. But then Charlie reached out to me through the approach, and I was intrigued. So I pinged him back and we had a meeting, and Charlie ran me through what was developed at the time. And it was a little bit, it wasn't as well fleshed out as what it is now, clearly. But I basically said to Charlie, I am happy to pay a premium for a product that's going to exist in 12 months.
Yeah, because I was basically selling you thin air. We didn't really have a product at that time, did we?
You had the course, but it was definitely not fleshed out. And I didn't throw the concept in the bin because the concept was clearly there. But I sort of said that, I've paid for things in the past and paid for and got a discount on things just for them not to exist. And credit where credit's due. You and Bo really proved me wrong on that. I didn't have much expectation that I would ever see this again. And we just sort of kept in loose contact. I was watching you on YouTube and Facebook. And then I reached out to you when I felt it was ready, after I'd been seeing the maturity of the concept.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing was fleshed out, and I probably paid an extra, $4,000 more than I would have previously. But I felt like it was, at the time, I was going to get a return on that investment, which I clearly did.
I think it's something else that's also quite important as well, because it's, a lot of people who sell courses, especially, courses online, we're all familiar with the sales techniques and sales strategies, and they can really revolve around high pressure and scarcity. And it's easy to fall prey to buying something that doesn't suit your needs or isn't even really in existence at the moment. So it's good that you had the prudence to sort of think, well, do you know what? I'm just going to wait for 6 months, which was probably the right thing to do because we added a lot more stuff. So let's hop into the real nuts and bolts of this. So you've basically doubled your agency's revenue, going from 40K a month to 80K a month, that 7-figure mark. My understanding is you've used a lot of the program to do that. Why don't you just explain to everyone here what parts of the program were really useful for you doing that, and also how you took those parts and made them your own, because I know that was something you did as well.
Yeah, of course. So I was in the fortunate position coming into the Imperium agency program, where I had a bit of a war chest, like I had wherewithal, right? I had a team already. It wasn't a big team, but I had a team already. And so for me, it was finding a way of doing the outreach that I enjoy doing, which is quality outreach, and quality and engaging with people in a way that I would do myself, but trying to find a way of doing it that required less of my time, because the business leans very hard on me, much like a lot of owners of businesses, to sell the sizzle and to sell the wares. And I was just getting spread too thin. When you get to, I was only saying this in a video the other day, when you go from $0 to $10,000 a month, it's actually quite easy to manage, just logistically, as a kind of a freelancer with a couple of people helping. The actual single hardest point is 10 to 20 and 50 to 70 that I've found, because the structure and the processes that worked at 0 to 10 don't work for 10 plus, like a 20 plus. Yeah. And then the structures I had at 40, I hit a wall where I was just not able to sell efficiently enough to cover the ground fast enough. So I went into Imperium, to the Imperium, and like everything I do, I like to understand the fundamentals of what's happening. I don't just necessarily, I didn't want to join a course or something that basically said, do it this way or don't do it at all. I liked the idea of the course being a little bit more open-ended and open to interpretation to make it your own, because I wanted to incorporate things that I did well into what I know worked, just philosophically and just from results that you guys have gotten. So I took a lot of what was in the course, combined it with what I knew about running a business and my processes and sales, married the two together, created a process that worked for me and my team. And then I sort of went the extra step to sort of automate the process, so it relied less on manual, on actual people, so that it became like an extension of the business, like a bolt-on cyborg arm of the business. And so it created another repeatable channel that didn't require manpower in any capacity. So that was sort of the evolution of how it evolved in my business, because for me, it wasn't necessarily about the money side. It was more about freeing up more of my time so I can do more of the things that will grow revenue more organically over time, because I was just running out of time.
It's interesting to touch on your point, what you said earlier. I think when you get to that 7-figure mark, 80, 100 grand a month, you actually have more time to do stuff than you did when you were doing 40 grand a month. Now, I don't know if that was the experience that we had when we were running Northflow. And a lot of people think that as you grow and grow and grow, you should try and do more and more and more. But what I found is going from like 20 to 50 to 100 is far less about you doing more. It's about you doing less. And the less you actually do and the more you remove from yourself, the more the business grows, which is interesting, I guess, because a centralized business that revolves around you is fundamental. Like the limiting factor of that is going to be your time and energy. And, we're not gods. So it's kind of hard to basically unlimit that. So
just quickly, I'll touch on that, because I've developed quite a good analogy for this when I talk to people about it, because I do get asked about this a little bit. And so when it was just 0 to 20 grand, it was like I was like a ship, you know, I was in the Navy for 10 years, right? So a lot of my analogies are based around the military.
Yeah.
So it was like I was a warship as part of a, you know, as a warship, sufficient warship, you know, with guns, missiles, and everything like that. From 20 to 40, you become an aircraft carrier. So you're the center of the carrier group, and everything moves in the same direction as you, but you still have to lead the direction of it.
Yeah.
From about, you know, from that about 70 plus, you're like the base ashore, and then
You hire someone to
directing
sail
and
it.
managing
Yeah.
it. But you're there for support. You're there to support the carrier group that's floating around the ocean. So Cam, who's my operations manager in the business, is now the aircraft carrier. I'm the base that's giving all of the things that that carrier needs to work as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
And as the base, you have more time. That's effectively how I've moved through the business. And I could, you know, you can just, there's one or two ways to go. You either build a bigger fleet of ships and you still become the aircraft carrier and you have a whole fleet of things moving around you, or you become the support network that supports that. And I just chose this to become the support network that supports that and get out of its way, let them do what they need to do, but they be there to support them so they can do their job properly.
Yeah. It's a really interesting analogy because I see that a lot in our business where for Bo and I, for Imperium and the Northway before we sold it, when you're at the 7-figure level, it becomes way more about your decisions and less about your actions. And if you're always doing actions, you haven't got room or mental capacity to actually make decisions. So, like, I guess with the analogy you used with the base and the aircraft carrier, it's kind of like you're making decisions as to like what battles to engage in, when to retreat, like like how fast to go, etc. But if you're down on the docks, like, you know, scrubbing everything down and, you know, trying to turn the thing, then you can't make those decisions because your energy is elsewhere. So yeah, it's a really
100%.
interesting metaphor. One thing I wanted to touch on was the results you managed to get in the first like 1 or 2 weeks with the program. Why don't you tell everyone about, I mean, you don't have to disclose obviously the amount if you don't want to, because it might be private.
Oh no, it's fine.
Talk about that client you signed in the first week.
Yeah. So I moved a lot slower than probably others did into the course, because like the sense of urgency for me wasn't necessarily there from a financial standpoint. It was more, how am I going to implement this into an existing system that's working already? So I moved a lot slower. I moved through the course a lot slower. I unpacked it a lot for a longer period than maybe say others in the course. Got to the same outcome clearly, but when I did unpack it, I went hard. I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Tested it, and once I was ready, I basically just threw the A team straight into the mix. And in the first week of doing that, I'd sent, you know, a couple of hundred emails or something like that, 80 emails or something. And I had a gentleman, because I also took what you said and kind of did it my own way, you know, for better or worse. And the gentleman that received one of my emails was like, I really like this Jimmy guy. Is really down to earth, a blue collar guy. And long story short, that led to a series of events of us signing like that added, well, it's over 18 months, 120 something grand over 18 months. Website, search engine optimization, Google ads, all the stuff that we do. And it seriously came from, I had no interaction with this gentleman before this, except for that email. So it can be directly attributed to the email sent out. Obviously I had good processes in place to close it out and things like that as well. But like the
appointment, the introduction.
Yeah, the appointment was booked through the Imperium approach. So it gave me a huge head start, because it gave me the confidence to go and build on top of that and make it better and make it more efficient, because I was like, it works. Now I just need to make it so it doesn't consume as much time, because at the time I was doing it all manually because I wanted to learn how to do it properly. And I was like, no, I can't do this like this forever. How am I going to maintain that same, you know, gusto and appearance and enthusiasm without by removing me from the equation?
Yeah. You broke the record as well, obviously, you know, to sign a 120 grand contract in the first week. But I think before that, someone had signed a client for like 5 figures or something. No one came in and just like was like, yeah, I just made an extra 100 grand in the first 2 weeks. That was awesome. When you were going through the program and using it, were there things in there that stood out to you that you liked in terms of how we approached it? Maybe just your experience with the program, what you found to be really useful, mainly just being greedy here for our feedback.
No. And I'm happy to give it. You know, like one of the interesting things about this course, say, compared to others, is that I felt the content was more evergreen than a lot of other courses out there. I still feel like, yeah, maybe there's slight tweaks you need to do to it now, but I feel like it wasn't necessarily that it was a course that I felt I needed to sit down and do and then just put in a corner. I felt like it was a bit of a reference point for me to go back to. And I
Mm.
went back to the course and maybe didn't watch the whole video again several times, but I watched sections of the video several times over like the space of a week, because it was more of a field manual on how to do it, as
Yeah.
opposed to being just like, hold your hand, this is how you do it. So like for me that loves to unpack things and get to the fundamental understanding of stuff, it was like the perfect model.
Mm.
And that's why it works. Probably it works so well for me, because I just went, this is exactly, I need to understand why it works, not necessarily go, oh, Charlie, it works for this person, it's going to work for you. I need to understand the fundamentals so I can
Mm.
implement it. And
Yeah.
the course is very well laid out in that there's no like start here, finish here. It's start here, you can go to here, you can go to here. It's all going to combine back in the end.
Yeah.
And that was really good.
Yeah, I think that's the issue with a lot of people who produce courses. Is business is not a linear thing. You know,
No.
it's anything but. It's not just as straightforward as just like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've been through programs before and courses before, and you get this sense where like it's almost like going to university and you know you're learning like a new topic, and then they start, and then you've got to complete the whole course before you understand it all. We tried to build it so it's a little bit more non-linear. It's kind of like you've got different points and posts you can go to get references, and then hop back in, hop back out. But we're re-engineering it at the moment to be even more like that, because we found that the people that do just get the best results, like yourself, for example, they don't copy and paste. You know, you didn't come in wanting like that shiny piece of copy or that shiny subject line. You were like, all right, how have you guys arrived at these conclusions as to what works the best, and how can I apply those conclusions to what's worked for me? And then you create this thing that basically can't be copied, which gives you a huge
Exactly.
advantage.
And that leads me to the probably the thing I got the most value out of, actually, the course itself. You know, once I understood the concept, I was able to sort of take it and run with the ball, so to speak, under my arm. Where I got the most value by far is in the coaching calls. You know, I obviously am in a
Oh yeah,
time
you
zone
listened to like all of them, didn't you?
yeah, I went back in time and listened to every single coaching call, which is available in the course, obviously. But I went back and listened to every single coaching call to reinforce the fundamental understanding I had in it, because a lot of the iteration and ideation and evolution of that course is actually, you can follow it through that coaching call and see the thought process behind
That's
why you
really
change
true.
bits and pieces.
Yeah.
It's like a timeline. If you actually sit back and look at it, it's actually a timeline and a legacy of like the course started here. So when I was going to join, I could see where it actually started to where it is now, and I could see it evolve. And then I took what you guys were evolving and went, okay, why are they moving in that direction? What are they seeing that I'm not seeing? And that's how I landed on doing it the way I did. Is because I took what you guys were constantly evolving, and I took what the course it was packaged in, and then went, okay, well, this is what they actually mean. It's like here, and then grew it from there.
That's a great point. I've never even, obviously we've uploaded every coaching call we've done in the last like 18 months, you know, twice a week. So there must be, you know, hundreds of them in there, but I've never actually considered it as an asset like that. Like it actually is like it's like a journal, a video journal of the evolution of the thing, because obviously
You
we
can
started.
see,
Yeah.
you can see you guys grow as business people within that too.
Oh,
That's the
mate.
interesting thing.
Yeah, you were exposed to us on the first coaching calls. They must have been awful, mate.
I
Yeah.
think you the credit where credit's due. I think you know, those first coaching calls, there wasn't many people on them, right? Like it was Lucas, you know, and a couple of others. But I actually think what would create immense amount of value is like getting those clipped, each question clipped up and put into a database within the course itself. So people have like a reference point for specific parts that they're stuck with. Because the thing with the training, the course, the coaching, for anyone's watching, the big thing about that coaching is they basically cover everything in several different ways, so that if you don't understand it in the way that the course is written, someone else has asked the question, and then Charlie and Bo have like reworded it and unpacked it and stuff in a way that will pretty much guarantee it will make sense to you. So I think there's a lot of value. I got a lot of value out of the coaching calls, and it's just unfortunate I'm in the wrong time zone to attend them live. But I do listen to pretty much every single one still. but I listen for specific stuff now, maybe not the whole
Mm.
lot. But
That's
yeah,
a really good
as a
point.
package, it's amazing.
Yeah. Damn. I hadn't thought about it like that. I kind of just because we just someone else uploads them and edits them and pops them in. So kind of forget about them. But that does make sense actually. Every single question that we've ever had from clients about the systems has been answered. And there must
Yep.
be tens of thousands of pieces of information that all puzzle it together. So that's
I
good.
listened. I listened to it'd have to be over 100 hours of it,
Yeah.
and um,
You're not sick
I
of us
think I
by
could
now?
have saved. What's that? Sorry.
You're not sick of us by now?
No, look, it's one credit where credit's due. I only, as bad as this sounds, and it's going to sound like I'm an arrogant asshole, but I only listen to people I feel I can get value from,
Yeah, I
because
appreciate
I
that.
just don't have enough time. And you guys are the few people. Bo doesn't get a huge amount of credit for this, but he's actually quite an intelligent dude,
Bo is
and
really he's much smarter than I am.
he just
Like,
has a different approach from
yeah.
a conversational standpoint. But I got a lot of what Bo was trying to put out through those coaching calls that maybe didn't get maybe unpacked as well in the actual
Mm,
course.
mm.
But I think I would where I was getting at is I probably would have saved myself about 50 hours if those questions were a bit more like you could pick and choose the ones you wanted to listen to.
Yeah.
But I felt like the beauty about what you guys have built is that it's an in versus out tool, not necessarily like so a lot of fake gurus, like if you follow like Spencer Cornelius and a lot of these guys that unpack fake gurus, a lot of the things they say about the courses is that they're specifically designed to put the onus on you if you fail. So
Yes, that's a
you can't blame them.
really big thing is like, and I really hate that because I've had
Yep.
people, when I used to do sales calls for the program, I've had people before who have, I won't name names, but I've had people who have come from other programs. Um, and like they'll come and they'll say like, oh, like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do it because I spent like 8 grand on this guy and 4 grand on this guy and it didn't work. And I was like, oh, well, why didn't it work? They're like, well, when I talked to them, they said that like it's all like my responsibility if it doesn't work. And if it fails, it's on me because it's my mindset. And like I think that's just about right, because it's also like they said that it's what the Stoics said. And then I'm like, yeah, you've just really been screwed.
Yep.
Because if you look up to someone as a coach, you have this element of moral responsibility where you actually are like, if someone pays you to give them information, you have a responsibility for their entire life and the trajectory
Yes.
of their path for the next, potentially 50 to 100 years. And if you take advantage of that and use that trust in a manipulative way that only exceeds your own gain, I can't perceive that to be a particularly good long-term strategy. And
No.
it really does. I'm
No.
glad you brought it up because it really frustrates me when I see people who are like, yeah, well, it was my fault. I sent all these things, and yeah, so I get that. That's a good point.
Yeah, and I think that's why the course works so well. Is like, as someone that's I think there should be a certain amount of personal responsibility in this. You can't go and
Yeah,
pay and relinquish responsibility. That's, if you wanted that, you need to hire someone to do this for you, because that's the whole reason you hire a contractor to help.
yeah,
If you want to learn something, you need to take a certain amount of personal responsibility. But what separates this course specifically from many others that I've done in the past is that you guys have equipped everyone to succeed. And then if they don't succeed, it's not necessarily that it's their fault, but it's like it's sort of somewhere in the middle. It's like
yeah.
everyone is a part, you're all in it together sort of thing. It's like
We,
you do it, the coaching calls, the
yeah,
course itself, it's all designed to go, okay, well, we're here with you. Like, we're here, we're available. You guys are always available to chat. There's the groups. It's like everything is there to
yeah.
succeed if you really are driven
It's
to do that.
if someone's got a work ethic, it's hard for them to not make it work, if that makes sense.
I
And
agree.
like the
Yep.
the instances that we found when it doesn't work is just when people don't implement it or don't implement it properly.
Yes.
And the other thing that we do now and we do want to continue doing forever is the refund guarantee, where and I know you weren't worried about this when you came on board, but like if someone hops in and they don't make a return on their investment, we want to be held accountable to that refund. And I've also found now that we've got a sales team of 3, sales reps start to become way more not selective but conscious of that. So we don't even do a clawback on rep commission if someone asks for a refund. because we don't believe in doing that. But sales reps are now more sort of like, hang on, like we could sign this person, but they're in a really bad place mindset wise, and I don't think they're going to do a very good job. So they just don't sign them up because they know that like we're accountable to those people. And if they haven't got what we believe it takes, which is quite uncommon, but sometimes it happens, then we're just like, yeah, we don't want to, come back in 6 months when you've got your headset straight. I had someone a while ago who said he was going to go and take a loan from his grandma to pay for the thing. And I was like, dude, just wait, just wait. And, because I don't want to, have to share that responsibility if you're not ready to buy the thing. So yeah,
it's
there's a lot of
definitely
it.
something it's definitely something that is, I think, why this course stands out so much is
I
because
should hire
that's
you as a
actually
sales rep, by the way. You're just doing all the work, man.
You couldn't afford me, mate.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
go on.
honestly, like I only give, I don't recommend stuff often. That's why it's taken me so long to do this video, because I really wanted to make sure what I said was sincere.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I'm getting at here is like, it's always been my philosophy with running this agency in the business is that I treat it like I live in the real world. And a lot of the stuff that happens, the reason the course has so many people that like it, whether they get results or not is a secondary thing to the fact that, like, did they get value out of it? And not even specifically from a dollar figure, just value in, like, does it make me a better business person? Does it make me think better about my business? Does it change my mindset, which is something obviously you've worked very hard in the course and on implementing. The reason why so many people are so happy to talk about their experience in this course is because it's actually very rare to find people in this space that are actually genuinely sincere about the outcome of other people. And it's always been my secret with businesses I work with. When I'm working with a business, even if they're a big business like the one that I was talking about we signed, you not doing what you say you're going to do properly can mean the difference between their kids going to a certain school or their business surviving and not surviving. And people don't take that responsibility serious enough in this space. And so when people do, it stands out. Like, in agriculture, what you do, what I do is just expected. But in the internet marketing, SMMA space, the course space, the guru space, it's just not common. And I think that's
you're right.
What it is if you unpack it.
No, you're so true. The thing is it's too easy to put together a shit product, be like some sort of slimy salesperson, promise them everything, and then just do that for like 12 months and then dip out with $1 million. Like, you can do that. It's not, you can't build a long-term business doing that, although some people arguably have. But now if you look, like, for example, Ty Lopez, if you're familiar.
Yes.
Like, I don't think,
Lambo books.
yeah, like, I don't think I think he still sells courses, but he's just fallen off the face of the earth, and he built his, online empire selling courses that, if we're all honest about it, they were subpar. They weren't particularly well thought through. They were rushed, and it was clear that it was more about the marketing than the product. But I think that you're right. If someone signs up to the program, and how we treat them and how much effort we put into our content can be the difference between someone actually manifesting a dream and someone completely failing. And that's a huge responsibility.
100%. It's also that it's a lot of the difference is, and it's something I've been able to identify the longer I've been in the space, and the longer I've been having the agency and have the ability to be able to turn away things because it's where we are financially, is it's a frame. Like, when I say that I've taken it and gotten the foundations, you can only do that with a course when it's built on an actual framework that works. So a lot of courses are just repackaged information in a certain way, but it's not a framework. It's not something that is not a foundational structure that can support something else. It's a series of steps, a lot like a cookbook, right? So what's the difference between a cook and a chef, or like a 5-star Michelin restaurant and a guy that just flips Burger King, right? Burger King is following a series of instructions, and they follow them very precisely to create an exact outcome.
Mm.
Now, the reason why a Michelin chef is able to charge $100 for one of their meals is because they take the foundations and the framework that they've developed over a long period of time, and they package it in a different way, in a novel way, but the framework is still there. Their ability to cook, their ability to turn food into art is
Mm.
what people are paying for. And I
Mm.
think this is the same thing. A lot of courses out there are just line short order cook style. It's like you
Mm.
pay $1,000. Here's the instructions. Follow them, and you follow them precisely in the exact parameters that are there. You're going to make money while it's there.
Yeah, that's so
Whereas
true.
the things that I've learned doing the Imperium course, Imperium agency course, is built a framework around my thought process around developing leads and getting leads, which is I can then take and turn into other
Yeah.
things, which is what
Yeah.
I've been doing, and which is why I've been able to take it to as far as I have in as short a time as I have, because
Mm.
understanding the framework and the foundations is allowed me the ability to build out automations and
Yeah.
build out things and tweak it slightly and change it slightly so it works better with me. Probably works better than you could possibly do it the way you couldn't do it the way I do it,
Mm.
because it works specifically for me, because I took the framework and turned it into what I needed.
Yeah, damn right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just principles versus objects. Like everyone wants to buy objects, like the copy or the script or the
Yeah.
questions on the sales call. But what's more important to purchase is like the principle as to how someone arrived at that copy. So it's exposing the wiring that, if you want to teach someone, how to build a car, you don't just show them the car. You pull up the hood and you show them everything. Like, okay, well, this is why this goes here. But anyways, to keep this one rolling, because I could talk to you for hours. What I'd like to know now is what's next for your business and
Yeah.
what's the plan now? Where do you want to take the thing? 12-month plan, 12 months goal. Where revenue targets, team size? What are you looking
Yep.
to do next?
So yeah, it's an interesting question that we've been working hard. So like, to be completely honest, we probably got enough leads. So like that's an interesting dynamic that I didn't think
Join the
we'd get
club.
to anytime soon. Yeah, yeah. So basically, what we're actually doing now is at the stage the business is at. We're actually we're actually fundamentally changing what we do as a business. So instead of being a provider of specific services like search engine optimization and Google Ads and websites, pretty much every business I've spoken to requires something different, which
Mm.
is a foundation to develop a foundation for them that can support all of this stuff. So we're moving to a term that I don't know if it exists, but like we're calling it a foundation first agency.
Mm-hmm.
So a business is going to come and see us, and if they want SEO or want Google Ads or want a website, we're not going to work with them unless we can develop their foundations to be able to support everything above it. So we've built a framework that we know works. We've tested it on hundreds of businesses now. We've built a framework we know that works with businesses, and we know that will scale as the business scales through the lifetime of their business. So, it actually came from this, right? So, like,
Mm.
we were getting leads in, and I was like, we have no infrastructure to support managing these leads. It's like I'm doing the same thing I tell businesses not to do, which is, as a good marketing agency, I can get you 100 leads tomorrow with enough budget and wherewithal. But what will you actually do with them as a business? You're probably going to lose 60% of them because you don't have any infrastructure to support the management of that. And that's where your bad quality leads comes from, that you're just wasting money. So why don't we build the structure and the foundation to support a proper marketing system and then scale it? And so we're moving to that, and we want to just basically be so we've been able to productize that a lot better and make it way more efficient, because we really know what we're doing and focusing on. And then we just want to be the agency that people work with through the lifetime of their business and the next business and the business after. So
Mm.
we help you build the foundation, and when you do need to do SEOs in the future because you need more inquiries, we can bolt it into the structure and the foundation we built. And then when you're ready to get the next lot of leads, it's just a shift in the way we're doing things.
Mm.
But we're really focusing now on a specific part of marketing, which is grossly underserviced, because everyone's trying to sell the specific thing they do and not actually thinking about the outcome of what happens when you do it. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of businesses that need that.
It's kind of like if you're a doctor, I suppose, and someone comes to you with like a cough, and like you can address the symptom with throat sweets or something, but really if you're not addressing the cause, the structural problem, then the symptom will never go away. It's like people
100%.
think that Facebook ads is going to fix their entire business. It's like no, no, no.
If
Generally not
anything,
how
it's
it
going to make
works.
it worse.
Is that,
And
yeah,
that's
you just you exactly, you just speed up the problem and expose more
and that's
issues.
where it came from. That's actually where it came from. Is there's going to be a lot of businesses if the economy does continue to turn and does continue to potentially get worse.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of businesses in a lot of pain because they're too worried about. They think it's a mathematical equation where it's like to get more net profit from marketing, you add more customers, and to get more customers, you get more leads. But
Yeah.
actually, that's the single worst way to think about marketing. It's actually like make more marketing with less. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
be more efficient with what you have, and then worry about adding things into it.
I think as well, if you look
Most
at
of it,
what I was going to say, if you look at what marketing sits on top of its product.
yep,
So like
100%.
you know, it's like, especially with that cold outreach and, you know, email and stuff, it's like, it doesn't matter how good you are at booking appointments. If you're selling something shit, you'll always struggle to grow.
Yep,
But when you actually produce something that, you know, people want to do, like you, for example, here, want to do an interview and explain it and just sit there for like half an hour and tell like an audience how good it is. Like when you build something like that, you don't really need to do any marketing, you know? So,
it's a
but
secret,
anyways,
right?
we'll wrap it up here. How can people find you? I know you are the online guy, so there must be some way.
It's always my thing I say is like, if I'm doing my job well, you should be able to find me, right? But yeah, so like we got very lucky with the name. So if you search my online guy on any platform, anywhere, we're going to be the thing that shows up, which is really nice. So that's my online guy. Funny story about the name. I'll just quickly end on this. The funny story about the name is the agency didn't have a name for a very long time. It was just me,
Yeah.
Jimmy, you know. And then what happened was I wanted to grow a brand. And one of the clients actually referred me to someone else and goes, "Oh, go talk to Jimmy. He's my online guy. He handles all of that." I was
Light
like,
bulb
"There it is."
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, no one had been using it, so I was like, "All right, start grabbing it all." But
Easy.
actually, I do have a YouTube channel which I'm actively trying to grow, where I just talk a lot more about business philosophies, and just about like helping small businesses and just the philosophies of around the time I spent in the Navy, time I spent managing a big 20-person business, and then obviously the agency. So
Mm.
that's
Well, I'll
over
pop
at my
a
online
link
guy as
in.
well.
Yeah, I'll link that in the description.
Awesome. That'd be
Anyone
awesome.
who wants to check out Jimmy, I mean, I've been watching his content regularly, so link will be in the description. So yeah, at this point, I'm supposed to ask you to you know, if you, what I'm supposed to ask you here is, if someone's on the fence, what would you say to them to buy? But I think you've already done a good enough job of convincing people that it's the right decision to work with us if they think it's a good fit. But
I will say this though, right? That it's not going to be for everyone. I think you're
mm,
right. I think there's a specific type of, but if you are the person that actually is serious about growing something sustainable, that is going to, you know, I always built this agency to be something I do for 10 years, 15 years. It's not an exit.
yeah,
It's not an exit point for me. So everything I do, I do with the utmost respect, and I do it properly. And if you're a person that likes to do things properly and likes to understand the fundamentals of how things work, then
mm-hmm,
it's this course is a no brainer.
mm,
But if you're someone that's just wanting to come in and take some swipe files and like incorporate what something else has happened, you won't get it. You will get minimal results at
yeah,
best. But if you
yeah.
want massive results, it's a really really good. It's the end opportunities are endless with it.
Mm. Appreciate it, man. Jimmy, I love you. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, mate. Have a
Cheers,
good one.
brother.